All right, I'm going to start on the product page because the most important page in a store, and then we'll navigate around the rest of the site. And I'm just going to give random feedback and speak my mind as I'm looking at things. First thing here is I got a nice photo, right? Looks like your photos are all square, which is nice. And good, I like the fact there's a lifestyle photo too. I like the little infographic-y one here. And dimensions. That's nice photography, right? Down puffy camping blanket, 345 reviews. It's fantastic. I click on that. It takes me down to Judge Me. Now, Judge Me here is full screen for some reason instead of the normal width of the rest of the page. You got different colors. Oh, and I assume you haven't. Is it the same product? Yeah, it's the same product. You're changing variants. So you've got a nice little app in there that's changing the color things here. Nicely done. And quantity, I can add and remove. Now, your add to cart button is not that dominant, right? This save 10% is more attracting my eye. And this add to cart, it's because it's got a plus next to it, so I think it's like an accordion, right? But I assume it's not. Now, what I normally do with the add to cart button is I make it the brightest button on the page and the only thing that is that color. So it's usually a bright red, right? Red is a brand color. We might make it a bright orange or something like that. But I like to make it very obvious. This is the add to cart button kind of thing. Now, if I click on it, let's see what happens. Yeah, that's crap. So, comfort is best shared. Give the gift your friends and family will love. I had to pause for a second because that didn't flow easily for me. Now that I say it again, it's easy. But now is the best time to add another blanket to your order while they're still in stock. So you want me to order another one. Do I get a benefit for that? Down here I see there's buy two, save 10%. But up here, there's no buy two, save 10%. And does continue, is that a yes? So you're asking me a question, right? Give the gift, now is the best time. So if I continue, is that going to add another one? Yes, I want another one, please. Or no, thanks, right? So the buttons, once again, they're very, not obvious. So let's see what happens when I click on continue. So I said continue, and now there's, yeah, that just sucks. Absolutely sucks. Hate to be so blunt about this, right? Well, I don't hate it. I'm just apologizing for being so blunt about it. Because here, right, what you want to do, if you're going to do an upsell there, don't make it be, right? So right now, I had to click once on the continue. Now I got the second thing here, and I got to click here, I guess, to add one manually instead of it happening to me automatically. And now I can see, I got this automatic discount thing going on. Do I want to apply the discount and go to checkout? So that's confusing also. So I've got this button up, this thing up here, right? Now I got this thing over here. I got two modals I'm talking to at the same time. Get 14% off your order. So it says you got 14% off your order. And then it asks me the question, do I want to apply the discount and go to checkout? So I'm assuming that coupon code has not yet been applied. And I hope I'm wrong in that. But this text, apply discount and go to checkout, makes me think that it has not been applied yet. So let's go to the checkout on this process here and see what happens. Yeah, so you automatically apply the discount code, which is good, right? But that message in that corner window a second ago said I had to click to apply the discount code when I actually didn't, right? So it's just that confusing experience going on there. So let's go back. So we're on the product page. So you're skipping. Let's see what happens here. I go to checkout. So there's no cart. I'm a fan of cart pages. And the reason for that is I like to merchandise on cart pages. Like all this merchandising you're doing right now on the product page, we could do the same thing on the cart page, right? Let's see if you have a cart at all. Yes, you do have a cart. Like you could have some components here that say let's just say I had one in my cart right now. Right here, you could have something that says, hey, a little promo that says buy two and save 10% or something like that. Just like you have on the product page, which I'll get back to and talk about in a second. And now, and also I don't know why this is. Oh, yeah, your cart sucks. All right, so you got old code here because I changed my quantity to 1, so the price should be $69.99 right here, but it hasn't updated yet, so you have to manually update it. So a newer theme would automatically update those prices. You wouldn't have to worry about that kind of stuff. But that's just a function of the age of the theme you have. So let's go back to that product page again and continue on. Right. So that was interesting the way the page loaded. It was kind of there's that little right here. You'll see a little / and then it goes away. Like little things like that. You want to fix. So we talked about the color selector. We talked about the add to cart button. Now, buy more, save more, regular priced items only. So this here, regular priced items only, right? If this product was on sale, then don't show this element, right? Have some logic in there. And I don't know if that's in there or not. It might be, right? But don't give this negative comment here. Regular priced only, we're restricting it kind of thing. Just show it when it applies and don't show it when it does not apply. Let's see if we have any products that are on sale right now. If I can spell collections properly. No. So yeah, nothing's on sale right now. So wait, there we go. There's one on sale. That's funky. Yeah, so here we're not. Oh no, we are showing the promo. And this one doesn't say the text of, doesn't apply for sale items. So let's see what happens. I click on this. Yeah, I hate that, right? Because, so it looks to me like I've just gotten my discount over here, which means the does not apply to sale items thing is not true, or maybe not, we'll see, right? But what I don't like is I clicked on that button, I saw a check mark, and now it says save 10% again. Did I add it to the cart? I don't know. I see nothing that tells me whether or not it's in the cart. Now I can click on the cart. And see that it did add to. So I'm a big fan, like I said before, right? I'm a big fan of the cart page, right? And one of the reasons is, if I add this to the cart, why would I ever want to stay on this page, right? Now, you might not want to go to the cart and you want to continue the shopping experience. That's totally fine. I've actually done ones before where when you add it to the cart, we take you to a page that says, hey, your item is added to the cart. Continue your shopping experience here, right, kind of thing. But when I clicked on that button, which I did not like, and the reason I don't like it is buy two and get 10% off. So it's not intuitive that this is an add to cart button. It's not intuitive that this is an add to cart button. And here I have a yellow add to cart button, where on the other page I had a gray add to cart button. So there's some inconsistencies going on there. I don't know why you have very different product pages, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. The differences in product pages in that there's more engaging content on one, but I would say that the differences in product pages, that's crazy. Where that? So yeah, see this. So I'm trying to find the product form, right? I'm clicking on this page, and for one time it took me here in the page, and I started scrolling up like where am I? Kind of I can't find the dang cart, right? So because we have this big header, which is kind of cool, right? It looks cool, but it wasn't intuitive to me that this was where the add to cart. I couldn't see it quickly and easily, right? Which is why normally on product pages, why is there a buy now button on the product? Oh, that added to cart. Oh, I am flabbergasted at how horrible this experience is. It's just not intuitive at all, right? And now, why is this one separate from this one? Are they not the same product? Share only requires, I don't know if those are the same. So variant 842. Yeah, those are the same products. I don't know what's going on there. And it might be that one of them is being discounted because they're together or something, which is kind of weird. But, that's probably something that the theme is controlling. And, it's not a setting or something you have there. But, right now what I'm seeing is a lot of confusion on my part, right? As a customer, it was not obvious to me that was an add to cart button. Just like it wasn't obvious to me that this was an add to cart button and this was an add to cart button. Another way to do this is just say, buy more, save more, and show a grid and allow them to, on their own add how many they want. Because I would assume that, well, it'd be interesting to see the data, and I don't have the data, right? It'd be interesting to see how many people buy 2 and how many people buy 4, how much this is moving the needle. And if it is moving the needle, you can still promote it, but you don't have to have this confusing user experience in there. So I like scrolling, continue on. I like showing the reviews here. Big on comfort, small in size and weight, so we just have a typo there. I like the GIF. It's cute. I like that a lot. I like infographics. There is some contrast issues, some big-time contrast issues here. This is very gray, very light gray, here with white on top of it. It's hard to read. But the effort's really good. Just, you got to find, and it's always hard to get good contrast on images, right? When you overlay text and stuff on it. So, included with full system. Polls are included with full system. So once again, I'm scrolling back to the top to get to the product form, and nope, not there. I got to go scroll down a little bit again, right? So, full system. So, how do the polls integrate with the system, or are they just an add-on, right? Do they somehow, and maybe they do, right? I'm seeing this thing here, but it's confusing to me how that works. Oh, is this the poll? So I can adjust the height or something. So see, I don't get it, right? Oh, so now I'm watching this here. It kind of explains it. But if user provided trekking poles to function, so this chair must have poles. So either BYOP, bring your own poles, or add poles to the order, right? So what I would think about this, and now I get it, right? But it took me too long to figure that out, right? And so the question becomes, A, I might be a stupid idiot and your customers understand things better. B, is there a way we can explain that better, right? So the first thing I'm thinking is a video where you got, something on the camera, on the screen, and you got audio, and you talk to people and explain, hey, this chair combines with your poles, which reduces weight because you're already carrying your poles with you, and makes it the size is adjustable and all that kind of stuff, right? So you can explain to people what is going on there, because I'm a huge believer in video. Huge believer in it. You cannot make enough videos, right? Kind of thing. So that's one thing you could do, is have a video that explains it a little bit better, right? Because I'm skimming through here and I'm jumping all over the place. Like, yeah, I'm just reading this again. So you're fully explaining the polls in addition to, right? So let's go back up here. It's a really long product page, and like I like a lot of content on a product page. I would say you might have too much on this product page, but I'll explain that a little bit more. So this is killing me, right? Absolutely killing me. Because as I scroll back to the top, because your page is so long, right? I scroll back to the top, right? And one way to get around that is to have, let's get rid of this stupid promo, and have a little button down here, right, that says back to top, right? And instead of it taking you all the way back to top, you could have it take you back up to here, right? So then I could easily see it. And another thing is I usually put the add to cart button above the product description, so that when I am up here at the top, if you have a long product description like we have here right now, the add to cart button would still be, viewable, because that would, be up here. So The other thing to think about is, chair only requires user-provided trekking poles to function, full system, So you might have, because these are variants right now. I'm just thinking there's a couple different ways to explain that a little bit better. This takes too much text, or too much mental energy on my side to understand it, right? When product purchasing gets this confusing, people leave, right? So the goal is, how do I make this as drop dead simple, obvious as possible, that what I'm doing, right? And the thing I'm thinking of right now is, the first thing I would do is I would have the variant photos be very, very obvious, and even have text that says it, right? So chair only. So I'm a big fan of whatever is in, I see what you're doing. You're graying out the poles, trying to make it show like, oh, it's not included. But this chair, right, shows the poles in the background. It shows the poles even though they're light right here. So what I would do is perhaps show, and this is too extreme probably, but I'm just going to say it anyways, show without the poles, and that, the chair thing is lying on the ground, and show no poles in here, and say, in text right up here, you must provide your own poles, right? And then on the full system, because now you're showing a set of poles here and a set of poles here. So I'm thinking I'm getting 2 poles, right? So full system, and you could have in text, includes the poles. And I wouldn't say includes goat sticks, ultra strong carbon fiber trekking poles, right? Just say includes poles. And not have 2 sets of poles, and the new badge is, unnecessary. So, and I would also make the full system the default, right? So the thing that people see when they open up the product page is they would see this chair with these sticks in it, not these sticks, and it would say, in text, this, complete kit comes with poles, right? And then if they choose to go for the cheaper option, they'd see the chair deflate because it's no longer supported by poles, and it says you need to provide your own poles, right? That's how you can't make this drop dead simple, because it's not an easy thing to communicate, but you want to make it as drop dead simple as possible, and that's what I would try doing there, things like that. Now back to this product page being really long. I like infographics. They're usually good, but this one's just infographic after infographic after infographic after infographic, right? Where it's not really building up and adding a story for me. And you might do something where it doesn't show the polls unless they've selected the, once again, that scroll up thing's killing me, unless they've selected full poll system. That's the only time we show the poll information down here, kind of thing. But, lots of info. It's like an Amazon product page here. And then the specs, let's see what that looks like. I like it. Video. Love video. How do I use a chair if I use the trekking pole? Oh, that's an interesting one. Trekking. Oh, so that's the chair, and that's the poles. Once again, trekking pole specifications, trek chair specifications, right? It already says trek chair. Do we really need to have, use the word chair and chair? Can we cut down some of these words? Now, you have branding. I totally get that. You got brands. You got a product brand that you're trying to enforce here, and that's totally fine. But can you simplify that, a little bit, so we're not having so many, like I see here, trek chair. I saw trek chair elsewhere a second ago. Can we reduce some words by not using the full title every single time, right? So, point being, this here, where was I? Oh, trek, just say chair specs, right? Pole specs, right there. And then love reviews. I love the fact they're showing photos. Let's see if you get. So I would also show the photos up here. You can do that and judge me. And I would also, you don't even have to have the filter, right? Make it simple for people. Just let them see the, just turn off the filter option for them. And then we have even more. So another typo here, and that's because of the HTML for the bolding. So is John the founder of Shop Gear? Like, is this the owner? Yep, he is. Okay. So you're adding street cred here. I love that. But I wouldn't do that here, right? I would do that on your About page. This is great content. It belongs on the About page. Because right now, now you've gotten me off of thinking about this product, and I'm thinking about the John Muir Trail and commercial pilots, and keep me focused, right? So an ounce lost means miles gained. Oh, that's like some little thing about get lightweight gear. That's a little overkill for me. Love the Yosemite Valley there. 5-year warranty, that's nice. But what's that got to do with great customer service? It doesn't make sense. This is not about the product, it's about the company. So what I would do, right, the 5-year warranty, which is nice, that's really good, right? I would have a product seal up here that says 5-year warranty, right? Or, super light, or, because you've got all these messages, and they're just all over the place. There's lightweight, there we go. And don't get me wrong, you have a lot of messages, so they're going to be all over the place, right? That is a natural part of the process. But can we also, have the Reader's Digest version with some product seals of, 5-year warranty, super lightweight, made in America, whatever those things are, right? So that the people who, just want to quickly make the purchase, they see the value props, they click the add to cart button. Because right now, if I really want to understand this product, there's no Reader's Digest, abridged version for me. I've got to do lots and lots of work to understand what's going on. And don't get me wrong, all the stuff I'm saying is hard to do well because you have so many things to say, right? Simplicity and elegance is really, really hard. But that's what you want to be striving for. Instead of just adding more and more, think about how can we change our messaging to be tighter and more consistent to the value props that resonate with our audience, right? All right, that's enough for the product page. Now, if I click, I already told you about how I'd rather you go to the cart page kind of thing, but let's just click the cart, and because here's where I'd be doing more upsells and promotions, right? This is also interesting. You want to hide any line item properties that start with an underscore if you can in your code. It's a code edit you can do. But if you have that cart page, you can do some upsells there. And what I always like to do on upsells is whatever your impulse item is. So let's just look at what your cheapest product is. Yeah, $9.99, right? Now, I don't know if everybody needs to buy that or not. Stuff stack for down blanket. So on your cart you could say, hey, get this $10 product, or buy some stickers, or buy our hat, or those kind of things. And to show you a real example, what I mean there is, let's just go to Rugged Rosaries, where they obviously sold rosaries, and if we go into their cart, right, we've got some promos for these rosary rings, $5, a pouch for your rosaries, $5, or give to their Rugged Rosaries Fund, which is their charity, and $10. And those have worked really, really well. We just launched this store a few months ago. Unbelievable how well those things are working. But here you have, a step. You went to the cart page, and we get to merchandise you with some more things. And we also put messaging up here like, hey, we're offering this deal or this promo. Buy two, get 10% off. All those kind of things. That's a nice place to put that messaging, right? So you make less merchandising messaging about package sizes and all that stuff, on the product page to keep them focused on the product. And then when you get them in the cart, that's when you give them, hey, order another one, you save money kind of stuff, right? So the good stuff that you're doing from trying to increase your average order value, but just changing the way it gets done a little bit differently, right? So now what I want to look at is stuff sack for double puffy synthetic blanket. What is the... Yeah, so these names are killing me, right? So for double puffy synthetic fill blanket, double puffy camping quilt, is that the same thing as the double puffy synthetic fill blanket, right? Are those, are they the same thing or not? Like, I'm going to assume it is. So what I want to see here, I assume that other thing is for this, right? So if that's an add-on product for this one, and it might not be, but if it is, then I would also promote it right here, right? So, let me show you a real example of where we do that. Let's go to Ortho. So these guys sell cold therapy machines, which you get for after surgery. And one of the nice add-ons for this is the ice packs. So instead of having to make ice in your freezer every day to ice your knee down, you can buy an ice pack. So we have this promotion right here, and also the sterile dressing for this pad, so that it doesn't get on your skin and infect your post-surgery knee scar kind of thing. So we just have this little checkbox, right? And I got to pick a pad, but then when I add that to the cart, you'll see it adds 2, and this is another promo they're doing. I hate that one, but whatever. And then it'll add it to the cart here, and it didn't because that other promo popped up, I think. So the two of them are conflicting with one another, which I have to talk to them about. But here, adding it here for you, right? If you've got an accessory for this product, you could, have a little promo on the page, or something else we do sometimes is when they add it to the cart, then you have a pop-up that shows up and says, hey, do you want to get the storage bag for this also, or the extended warranty, or any sort of thing you can think about like that, right? So if you have products, the Uber point is, if you have products that have related products that go together and make a set, there's different ways to merchandise that. And you're doing some of that. It just, we can do some more of that also in some other ways. So I haven't been into the checkout yet. That's what I want to go see next, right? So, and this thing being down here all the time, that just annoys me, right? Because I'm not understanding the cause and effects behind it. Why did that show up? 29% off, $29.70 off your order, apply, once again, that apply discount and go, well, I've already got that, it's like, it's just annoying to me down there. If that hasn't been obvious. So let's go to the checkout. Don't like your branding, right? We'll talk about that more later. Is this your brand color? I haven't seen that color before, that blue. I would change that. Yeah, I think you're using the default blue that it comes with. Once again, I would have your add to cart buttons be a red or some color, and then make these the same color as that. So there's a little bit of branding you can do in here is all. Now let's get back out to your store. Let's talk about your navigation experience. So how we get to the products that we get to, right? So I am not a fan of hamburgers on desktop, right? They obviously are needed on mobile, but on desktop, I've got to click this to see my options, right? And here's what's even worse. I still don't see my options. Now, if I click on shop, it doesn't take me to a page, right? Now I got Bofi blankets, goat sticks, trekking poles, trek chair, and accessories. And, once again, I have no idea what Bofi means, right? Maybe your customers do. I don't know if it's a brand or if it's a product or maybe it's a material. I have no idea, right? But why doesn't this just say blankets, poles, chairs, accessories, right? Keep it simple. You can enforce your brand. So right now, this is a decision-making engine, right? I want to decide what bucket of products I want to be. This is not a branding element. This is a decision-making tool. So you can have the branding at the right place, like on the product page, and that kind of stuff. But here, you want to make it easy for customers to see their 4 options: blankets, poles, chairs, accessories, and be able to decide on them. And what I would do is I would have this shop button. I would have that go to a page that showed those 4 things and explain a little bit behind them. Right? And beyond that, what I would do is I would get rid of the hamburger, right? And in your main menu right now, you've got shop, our mission, FAQ, contact us, log in, contact again, social icons, and then the dollar currency selector. I would move mission, FAQ, contact to the footer. I wouldn't have social promo in the header. So what I would have is shop, right? And what I would do is I would take these 4 items and I would put them in a horizontal nav menu so your customers, when they open up the page, no matter what page on the website they're on, they land on the website, however they got there, they see your 4 shopping options: blankets, poles, chairs, accessories, and maybe even a shop wall, right? And then keep your header focused on the shopping, right? So the contact us, the mission, about, all that other stuff, save that for later. If people want to find that information, they know to go get it in the footer, right? So the reason I don't like this is I don't like square things, and round is the same as square. It's just, with corners, cut off, right? I don't like square logos in a header because it takes up so much vertical space. That's why I don't like this, right? So this vertical space from here to here, right, is a lot of space taken up, and it looks like there's something missing. Like I got this big image underneath. It's full screen. There's a lot going on, and this is just a void up here. It's a total void, right? And let's actually see what this looks like on mobile. Yeah, it's even worse on mobile. This takes up so much space, right? So what I would do, now I don't know if you're branding, like in your packaging, you're actually using this round circle thing, right? But, what I would think about is having a horizontal logo, which is your icon of the mountains and snow, and then Get Out Gear beside it, right? Without the whole blue dot background. And then you can make your whole background blue if you wanted to bring that brand color through a lot more strongly, because this lack of color when the rest of things is very colorful takes my eye away from the brand. So I don't know what site I'm on, right? I'm not even looking at it, right? And then the other thing is, it took me a while to figure this out, but shop Go Gear. See, to me, this is Go, right? And then I realized, oh, that's not Go. That's Get Out, right? I think you're being too cute here, right? And it's probably because getoutgear.com is taken, right? So let's just go to getoutgear.com. Yeah, so somebody's bought that domain. You should see if you could buy it, right? Depending on how successful your brand is, you could by that what I mean is depending on how successful your brand is, depending on how much money you have to spend. Sometimes you can get a domain for a lot cheaper than we think these days, because domains aren't as valuable as they used to be. But if somebody's not using it, so if you could pick that up, rather cheaply, it'd be worth it. But if you can't get that, I would rather this say shop getoutgear.com than shop Go Gear. Because when I first saw this, I was like, oh, Go Gear is their brand. Like, nope, it's not. It's Get Out Gear. So that's just confusion for people. So the longer URL, because nobody types in URLs anymore, right? So shop getoutgear.com, I would prefer if you can't get the getoutgear.com. But that's a little point. But back to this horizontal logo. Have a nav up here with your 4 big shopping buckets, maybe the 5th if you want to do a shop all. All right, so let's look at a collection page. Bofi blankets. I still don't know what Bofi is. So I'm going to assume that Bofi is a type of down, but I'm not told that anywhere. And see, this thing popping up on every page is just pissing me off. Get out of my way. Let me do what I want to do, right? And a lot of apps, right? They're getting in front of the customer's face and trying to, they're too aggressive sometimes, and that's an example of it. Just let I'm still shopping. Let me shop, right? I'll check out when I want to check out. So here, right, first thing is your images are different sizes. You want to fix that. You can make them all square. We were looking at one product, and they were all square, nicely done. You just want to do that across all of them. There's easy ways to do that. So I've got 4 blankets to choose from, and there's the Mega Puffy Down Camping Blanket. There's the Cozy Camo Camping Blanket. There's the Double Puffy Camping Quilt. And then there's the Down Puffy Camping Blanket. God, this fucking sucks. Like, I'm getting angry looking at this site because it's so frustrating for me to understand the differences, right? So this page is meant to let me decide which one of your 4 blankets I want to pick. This page does nothing to help me make that decision, right? So what this page should be, and I don't like the select options, by the way. That's, it should be like a learn. Actually, I don't think you need the button on hover. I think it's an annoying little distraction. But if you were to have it, I would have it say learn more, because select options is like, maybe I'm not ready to buy yet. I just want to do a little more research, right? So learn more, but I wouldn't have a button at all. People know how to click on it and go see the product. And also, you don't need reviews in a Shopify store on the collection page usually. And on Amazon, you have reviews on the collection page because some products have 2 stars, right? And others have 5 stars. In your own Shopify store, everything's going to be 5 stars or 4.5. So that doesn't help me make decisions, right? Like I said, on Amazon, it does help you make a decision. So what this page needs to be, I got 4 options. I got a quilt, 3 blankets. This is puffy. This is mega puffy. This is cozy. And this one, so here's a color, right? This one, so I don't know the differences between them. So what I'd like to see here is, and this is nice because you have such a small product catalog, you can do things that many other stores that have large catalogs can't do. And what you can do is you can curate your collection pages and not actually show us a collection page here, but a page. And in that page, you'd say, we have 4 types of blankets. And option 1 is for this use. Option 2 is for this reason. Option 3 is for that reason. And option 4 is this other thing, right? So what you want to do is explain the differences between your products, not the brand names of the products. So you might have and I'm going to make total guesses here, right? Super warm, lightweight, and whatever the other, whatever the difference between a quilt and a blanket is, right? So whatever the differences between them are, you want to communicate those on this page. And maybe you only have one thing that's available in camo, right? And that's this. So you'd want to highlight, our only camo option or something, right? But, explain the differences in your products here, not the similarities. Hopefully that makes sense. So let's go and check out another collection page and see if we see anything different. That takes you straight to a product. Let's see what the chair does. That takes you straight to a product also. And let's see what the accessories does. Yeah, I would actually put this in the blanket category. But, and maybe even not even show that on that page, right? As we talked about before, you might upsell those on the product pages or something like that. Just like as you saw in Rugged Rosaries, right? We're upselling the pouch here. All right, so that is that stuff. Now let's start looking at your other pages. Let's go back to mission. I hate the word our mission because what I want to see here is I want to see about us. And when I say about us, I want to learn about the people. All right, you did that on the product page. Was it John is the name of the founder? That was a nice little section, right? And it talked about his history and his passions and that kind of stuff. Here, I don't see any of that, right? So mission is just, it sounds very corporate to me, unless you were a mission-driven industry, right? And for example, right, Rugged Rosaries is on a mission, and they have a charity that people donate to and they donate to and all that kind of stuff. If you have a mission like that people should be buying because of the mission, great. But when people say, "Oh, our mission is, to help passionate campers hike in the woods," that's not what I mean when I say mission, right? So what's better here is your story, the human beings, right? Because what we're not doing here is we're not saying we're an American company. And we met John a little while ago in the product, right? We're not talking about him, the founder. We're not talking about, hey, these are made in America or designed in America, or we have we're a family-owned business. This is our 15th generation, all those kind of things. People love those stories. And here's the thing is brands, the power of a brand over just selling products, right? The power of a brand is brands, have a word of mouth aspect to them. And that word of mouth aspect is the story behind the brand, right? It's not, oh, this is 1.4 ounces. Those are product features, or 1.4 pounds, whatever it was for your weight, right? Those are product features, and those do have word of mouth aspect to them, but that's not part of the brand, right? The brand is the story behind the products. Like, oh, this was made by an MIT engineer doing grad studies in Antarctic exploration or something, right? That kind of story is the story that if you tell your customers that story, they now have a story to tell their friends about their products. That's a story about the product and not features about the product, if that makes sense. So what you want to do on your About Us page is you want to tell your story and how it relates to these products so that your customers can retell that story and that your brand will add value to your word of mouth sales. So you got to give them the story for them to repeat the story, and that's not happening here. It was happening on the other page, the product page. That's the ironic part. You're already doing it. You got the idea. I would just put it here, make it a nice compelling story. And if you do it here, let's just show you Bixby for a second. With Kate's story here, right? So Kate, if we go down to her, so we have for her a personal story, and then about the process on how the chocolate's made. So we did 2 different about pages, right? Sometimes we actually do 3. But the About Us is about the people. So here we see Kate, and she talks about how she got into healthy eating because her mom is a cancer survivor and she's living with cancer. And she tells they got a video, and you can see how nice Kate is and all that kind of stuff. So there's a big, long story going on there kind of thing. And notice the charity thing is the last thing, right? Because it's not the most important thing about what they're doing. So, this is a nice story page. And then when people read that story and listen to Kate telling her story there, right, then they can go out and repeat it to other people. So that's what you want to be doing in yours also, right? So you want to be showing, if you have, let's say you have 5 people at the company. Maybe there's just 1, right? It's totally possible. Let's say there's 5 people at the company. You want to show a team photo of all 5 people, right? Or individual photos of all 5 people. And one of the things that I like to do, let's go to Titan, Survival. Seen the store in a while. And what I like to say is, you want to make a human connection and show your human side, right? If people wanted to be anonymous and not make a human connection, they'd buy off Amazon, right? They're not on Amazon. They're not on Walmart. They're not on REI for a reason, right? Because they don't want that, right? It's easy to get whatever you want in those stores, right? So they're on your store for different reasons. Oh, nice job there. I can't stand when I go to my client stores and see the mistakes they're making. But here, right, what I always tell my clients is I want to see babies and dogs, because babies and dogs are very human things, right? It's not your corporate photo and your LinkedIn profile, right? Be human in them. So here's Jared and his grandkid. Here's Shannon and her 3 kids. Here it's not a dog, but there's an animal. All right, we got dogs, right? These are human beings, right? These are nice people. I want to do business with them, right? Because I can see them and I like them. They're good people, all that kind of stuff. Where if we do this, I have no connection with that, right? You're telling me stuff, but it really doesn't resonate. I don't. Well, not that I don't have any connection. I don't have an emotional connection to that. There's not a human connection going on here. So show me the human beings at the company. Tell me their stories. Tell me the story of the company from a human standpoint, like how the origin story, like how every Batman episode opens with the origin of how that bad guy became that bad guy. Like, tell the origin story of how Get Out Gear became Get Out Gear, right? All that kind of stuff, so that people can retell those stories to others. So that is our mission FAQ. What temperature? I don't know what product that's for. So you might want to break these up by product or something. Like how do I store it? What product are we talking about? That just looks a little bit confusing. But you also want to do things on your FAQ at this level, because you also had FAQs I saw on the product page. These all look like product FAQs, which are better there. What you'd want to do here is like, what is your return policy? Do you ship to Antarctica? Are you OSHA certified? All those kind of store level things you want to put on this one. Or if you're going to have product-specific ones, call out what product they're for. Contact us. So you don't have a phone number, which, you do here. So you got a phone number here, which is great. I would also show your phone number here, right? Now, you might want to do it so that they use the form more often kind of thing. But showing a phone number is a great brand builder, right? You're showing you're willing to, talk to your customers, which, means there's, people there and all that good stuff. So if you're willing to show your phone number, which you are, I would do it on the Contact Us page also. I usually, by the way, put the sign-up form just on the home page so that it doesn't clutter every single page. But that is those. So let us look at your footer links, which are search. No need to have that there when you've already got it there. Contact us. I said, I want to pull it down from the header, put it there anyways. Return policy, privacy policy, return service refund policy. Let's just look at one of those. All right, the policy page here, that's all good. Pulling straight from your policies. So I'm going to assume the rest of them are fine. I just want to see what your return policy says. Yeah, so that's like an easy returns, right? Or satisfaction guarantee, which can become product seals. You have a good policy here. You just want to reinforce that in the appropriate places. And then what is your corporate reseller inquiries? This is for wholesale. Yeah, so it said corporate or reseller. So this image is just way too large on desktop, right? With the header and the top bar, I can only see half the image. You want to crop that. But it says custom blankets. So here it says corporate or reseller inquiries. I could see where corporate might be custom, but you want to have a title that's the same thing or close to the same thing. And then you might have different programs, right? You might have, we do custom blankets for corporate, or, we do wholesale or bulk ordering for resellers, and, explain your programs a little bit more and the differences between them. Or it might just be, it's only custom. Then, here's the thing. Do you have a minimum order? So one of the things I like to say is, don't make people contact you to get more information. Now there's times that they have to contact you, like to place a sophisticated order, right? If you're going to be ordering, 15 pallets worth of things, you have to contact us so we can figure out freight shipping costs. But why can't you productize this? And I'll give you a real example. Hopefully they're still around. Etching X. I don't think I've worked on this store since 2016. And here's the thing is, when I first did the redesign for them for their site, they had a, let's shop by product, and, so this is by wine bottle. So we're going to pick the champagne and then select design. This is a new experience they built out. Yeah, so this is a little bit different than the way you did it before. But, here it is, upload your photo. Oh, that's all they're doing is upload your photo. Yeah, so let me just explain it to you. They've updated their site since I last worked on this, almost a decade ago now. But what it was they had all these custom designs where you'd fill in the blanks, like, oh, happy birthday, you'd say 50th birthday, mom or something like that. And they had one product which was, etch your photo into the bottle, right? And they said, contact us for more details. And what I convinced them of was to turn that into a product. And what it was, I don't know if it still is that way, is like, let's say a normal etch bottle with their designs, Happy Birthday Mom, was $75. And the photo upload, I'm like, well, what would that cost? Like, oh, it varies on this, this, and this. Like, if you had to give it a fixed price, what would it be? And we made it $125. Like, it was, profit-wise, it was way more, right? But, it allowed them to have a handhold, post-purchase experience where the client sends them the photo, they edit it, tweak it, maybe you have to go back and say we need a different photo for contrast reasons, all this other stuff, right? So $75 for a normal etch bottle and $125 for a your photo etched on a wine bottle, right? And they did none of those sales before because it was a contact us form. So what we did, we turned it into a product. It became their number one selling product overnight. So all of a sudden, instead of buying $75 wine bottles, they're buying $125 wine bottles because we removed a barrier to buying it. So if you can productize your, let me just go back to your thing here. If you can productize this, productize it. Now, if there's a minimum order, like we only do it for orders of 100, then say that. Say that right here. So let's say I'm looking at this and I'm like, ooh, I'd love one that says Scott Austin right here, and I'll put my logo on it. But if it says right here, only for bulk orders of 100 or more, then I'm like, oh, that's not for me, and then I'm not going to contact you and waste your time. So one of two things. If there's rules behind the program, publish them here. Or if you can productize this, do that also here. As much as you can, right? You want to push out as much information on your website as possible. So that is looking at your website. Let's just do a quick look on your Instagram. Yeah, you got that Shop Go Gear there too. You got the round logo there. Hours ago. Got a small amount of followers, but not an insignificant amount of followers. You're getting some traction there. And let's look at your Facebook. I would recommend having a YouTube channel and start doing videos more and more, even if they're just educational, tutorial, whatever. YouTube is the number 2 search engine on the planet and is the number 1 research engine on the planet. So if you had YouTube videos, if people start looking, doing research for best blankets for outdoor gear, you had some content on YouTube, you might end up showing up there, right? That kind of stuff. Now, your overall brand, I commented on this a couple times. If I go back to your home page, so I've got this yellow color, I've got this blue color, a red color. This blue looks like it's like this one. Oh, this one has a transparency on the blue. This one doesn't. This yellow is different than that yellow. Not a lot of color, which is fine. You have consistency in your fonts, although this is not the same font as this one, right? So I would take, this font, whatever that happens to be, which is, let's see if we can tell really quickly. Font family Montserrat. I like that font, right? Montserrat has a little bit of a style to it where, this is like an Arial or a Roboto or an Open Sans, right? Use your Montserrat in there also to have that consistency. You got this yellow, which is different than that gold that was up here a second ago on the slideshow, that one there. So I just throw some consistencies in there. Once again, fonts. This is capitalized. This isn't. This is capitalized. This is capitalized. This is small letters. This we have, blue outline around the letters. These do not. So there's, a little more consistency in the implementation of stuff. And, that's done, in a graphics package. So you just have to, what I usually do, right, we come up with a set of brand guidelines. So let's just go to Rugged Rosaries and show you an example. Pages brand guidelines, right? What we do is we document what our brand, these are the colors we use, these are the only colors we use. These things are capitalized. Here's how we do typography. Here's the fonts we're using. Here's the image sizes, all that kind of stuff. So if you just document it somewhere, because as you know, when you go into your Shopify store, you got an app for this, an app for that, an app for this, an app for that. And one of the hard things to do from a branding standpoint is have consistency across all of them. You got to go into each one and customize them. Sometimes they give you the ability to do that inside of their controls. Other times you have to, add in JavaScript or CSS to do it for you. But if you have that central documentation on what your standards are, even little things like, do you put periods at the end of, headings and stuff like that? There's no right or wrong, but I'm just a big fan of documenting what your rules are so that it's easy for everybody to implement those rules across all the different tools that you're using. Right? I think that is enough feedback for now. I've probably been blabbing for an hour or so. 54 minutes, I see. So that probably gives you enough feedback. Let me know if you have any questions on anything Apologies for when I get all angry and stuff. I just get frustrated when I see things that I see so much opportunity to improve upon. And what I see here is, by the way, I didn't start with this, but like you've got a niche which is fabulous, right? So you guys are focused on outdoor gear, and a small set of outdoor gear that I assume are your own designs. You're not reselling other people's stuff. That's a great place to be in, right? You're spending time doing the photography. So you're doing the right stuff from a product standpoint and all that good stuff. I think that makes it easier for you to go ahead and raise your website to the bar that is set by your products, right? Because that's not how I don't think your website lives up to your products right now. But I think that's a good problem to have versus the opposite of where your website's way better than your products are, right? The fact your products are so good and they're a nice tight market so you can market to a defined audience in your niche more easily. Really good stuff there. All right. Thanks for listening.